Oh no, I was just about nothing.
All right. Let's put this guy up. Get nice and comfortable.
This cannot be real.
It's gonna get hot.
It is real.
All right. I'm ready. I'm ready. Got my cocoa tea. Product placement. Inadvertent.
Oh, my pizza's all gone.
All right. What's up, everybody?
Hey guys, it's been a while.
Mm.
It has been a while. Been forever since I've talked to you guys. Literally 7 days.
Yep. Shall we start with the run metric?
What running? What running? I was so motivated last week.
Same.
I haven't made time for it.
I was too occupied this
the
week.
only one that did improvements.
Oh, that's good.
I think Tyler had intent. I don't know if he pulled through.
He did good. It's just
He's been saying he wants to try a 20.
Kayla was our only improvement contributor this week.
Hey, big numbers to Michaela.
Hey.
Tyler with the 37. That used to be my average. Holy Dad, big numbers.
Yeah, I softed. I only did 2.
Kidding.
And I was like, I'm done.
Trolling.
I
Made
totally
big.
hard recovery weeked.
Yeah, same. Yeah.
As long as you're doing other exercise, right?
Yep. For sure.
I mean, I'm lucky. I get to still like. Well, what happened? I went to play tennis in a parking lot several days in a row. So
That
Well,
counts.
I got a 4-day week, so I definitely have more time to put in some good numbers this weekend. I think numbers or goal should be the same. I think it'll be fine.
yep, that's
I
fine.
agree.
I will. Maybe I'll add. Dan just bikes for like 8 hours. Just never gets off the cycle.
Guys, I did 100 yesterday.
No, it's this on the cycle.
8 hours minus the bathroom breaks.
Yo, Cake. I mean, it's not that bad. I bet if you like pace yourself, you could just like binge a TV show. while
I
you do it.
probably could. I'm on My Hero right now, or just throw on a movie and throw on Justice League for 4 hours. Oh, God.
That would be good.
But yeah, I think goal still stands. It'll be no problem next week. We got this.
Cool.
What's Justice League? Is Justice League DC? Is that Batman and Superman?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Was it good? Is it worth my time?
I probably won't watch it. to be
I
honest.
liked it. Mike liked it.
I'm-
Day couldn't last more than 20 minutes.
No, but I mean,
And-
like even just the regular movie, not even Snyder's cut.
I watched
The
the
regular was not
first
good.
one that came out. It was yeah. It's hard because it's like you can't help but compare to the MCU. So
Yeah.
it was. We'll just leave it.
It was bad.
I was gonna say if I
First
watch,
one was bad.
I would have to watch both so I can make a comparison.
I would watch the
You
long
haven't
one
watched, like,
first,
any of them?
and then watch
Oh,
the
yeah,
original
yeah.
one bad. The original one after.
Okay. Or do I want the experience? Of,
Actually,
like,
you know what?
I kind of want the experience.
No, I feel like it would make. Okay, then we're bigging it up here. But if I got the original story in Snyder's cut, I think I would have liked it even more.
Interesting. I will
Because-
watch the first.
Aw, you're the only one with that benefit. You could actually do the good one first, and then you might not even want to watch the original after.
No, the curiosity would kill me. I'd really want to know. Like,
There's
would watch
YouTube videos on comparing them, then you'll know.
I mean, I
Alright.
have 4 days.
Same. Ooh.
Could do it. Oh,
I'm gonna snowboard tomorrow, and then I work
fancy.
Monday, so I'll only have 2
Is it-
days.
Blue still? They
Yeah.
still got snow?
Well, they're trying to squeeze it in before it shuts down. Again.
True.
Officially, anyway. And yes, they still have a bit of base left in a couple places.
Sweet.
And today, apparently it snowed. It's minus 18 tonight. So it's all ice tomorrow.
Fun.
We shall see. Actually,
Even I have it warmer than that right now.
It
The hell?
rained during the week, and I think, yeah, the drop down to minus 18 happened after some precipitation. But I think there was some snow. But yeah, anyway, tomorrow will be sunny. So, yeah, it'll just be a big sheet.
Big piece of shit.
Mm-hmm.
Big shit. Yeah. Even I have it warmer than you guys. Like it must have felt like 10 degrees outside just now.
Oh,
My bad.
yeah.
I left it on the starting soon screen this whole time.
We are
Well,
still starting soon.
Forgive me, the run metrics did not show.
That's okay.
It's okay.
It was a
Nothing
bad
more
week
Wasn't
anyway.
much to show
We're fine.
anyway. Hey
There really
guys.
isn't anything to show.
Just a bunch of zeros anyway. It's all good.
Hello, one concurrent viewer, but
Oh,
4
wait, I
playbacks.
lied.
Oh no, there's 2.
Michaela. Michaela's.
Yay,
Oh,
Michaela!
Michaela's
Yeah,
MVP
yeah,
this
Yay,
week.
there you go.
Yeah.
Here, let me click that. Let me make it bigger.
Show her green. Show her green.
Hero.
Improved.
Hero,
The only one that
Michaela.
improved this week.
Team carry. Team carry.
Yeah.
ADC.
Oh, Michaela. Woo.
ABDC. Okay. All right. So, today's topic.
Oh, Dan's a floating head.
What
Yeah.
the fuck is with all this Asian hate? That's the title I chose. I think it makes sense. I think I was maybe avoiding this whole topic originally because I fortunately haven't had to deal with any of it. I don't like directly. Anyway, we kind of touched on this last week, I think. Was that
I
after the
don't
podcast?
I don't remember.
It might have been after the podcast ended. But
Actually.
I think not too long ago, maybe a week ago too, my cousin posted an Instagram post by this Korean actor. It's probably the most famous one. He's very eloquent. Let's see.
I believe in UF. Is his last name Park or Wu? Let the racism begin.
Daniel
Dan's
Day
out.
Kim. Daniel Day Kim. You were not correct, which I'm happy about.
Dan had enough. He was out.
Oh. But yeah, Daniel Day Kim asked Congress to help stop Asian hate. It was a really informative video. Like, it kind of put things into a bit better perspective as to how much. But then, yeah, no news coverage. But then at the same time, timing too. It's like is this Asian hate thing media timed similar to how BLM was last year? You know, like, not to say that it's strictly that, but
hmm
it's coincidental. It's a bit too coincidental. Just not saying it's it's a conspiracy or anything, but I don't like it. I don't like how, oh, you guys had attention last year, now it's our turn. But it feels like people are gonna make this argument on both sides. But How
I
much do you
think
guys know
that's-
about what's going on? Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I think that's diving too deep into conspiracy stuff. Once you start talking about media's timing and stuff,
Mhm.
I that's I don't think that's the issue at hand.
No, you're right.
Yeah, because you think about even the whole BLM thing. Like, what was it? So like so often you'll hear about how like these are things that have been happening. No one sees it because social media is a thing now. Like it's just so much more accessible to that information.
Mhm.
There is no telling. Like for me, I would never have known how much um, the black community would see this kind of stuff on their daily in the States. Whether it happens in Canada too, I wouldn't know because back in the day, how fast was information actually traveling and how much of that information actually travels. We
Yeah.
touch on this every week where it's kind of like the information age is fucking nuts because so much things can go viral so much more quickly. Even with the Asian thing, like it could really be any race at this point, but how much of it was actually suppressed and not kind of not to say advertised, that's a bad word. How much of it was actually shown
Covered,
and
just covered.
publicized.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
mean,
can definitely agree. Like, especially with like Black Lives Matters, like I think it's a prominent topic that has existed for for such a long time, but I guess it was just really accentuated in the last year with what happened and the spread of social media. So I would definitely agree with Warr. Like I think all these issues, and it's not just the BLM movement, and it's not just the Asian hate. Like I'm pretty sure there's so many different forms of discrimination that exist, and it'll just be time where it's gonna blow up just because of social media, and show more that it really is out there. And yeah, I think personally, because I haven't had to deal with it personally. It's easy for me to be oblivious to all of it until you start seeing the viral feeds of just everything.
Yeah. When I first came across it, or when I first understood why it was becoming a thing, was I thought it was a response to COVID. How people were blaming Asians for COVID. But then I see captions and comments from people who are posting about it, and they're saying how it's always been around. It's just now there's finally some coverage, or there's like leak. So it's just because you look at Black Lives Matter, and it's supposed to be a response to how white supremacy and what is it? Systemic racism is keeping like people of color, black race, suppressed, right? In society, and in it, that's how they can't, and they're trying to catch up to the rest of the world, but they're 200 years behind. And I do agree, like that BLM, or not BLM, but systemic racism is a thing. People who say it's not a thing, I've heard both sides. I tried to do research on both sides too, to be fair. I never really post anything though on my social media because I don't want my feed to only show me one side. I know that if you like things from people, then it's only Facebook will only start to only show you that side, and that whole thing from Social Dilemma. So I don't like people's posts when it comes to political stuff, religious stuff, or any kind of view. And when I share, I try to share both sides too. But what's the Asian hate for? Like, is that because I don't think there's suppression. Like I've never really seen the.
You know what? For me, I don't know straight
Okay.
up. Like, I feel like it's what the black community went through, just on a very scaled down version. Like,
Okay.
it's not as extreme.
Yeah, I know there was slavery, right? Like, too, like bringing them over to build the railroad or something like that. I don't know a lot about it, but
I think it's the. It's just. I think with the whole COVID thing, it just gives other people to another like an extra reason to hate on Asians. If
It's a
anything,
scapegoat, yeah.
that's no different from some of the instances in the past too. Do you remember a girl in Toronto a year ago, maybe 2 years ago? She was hated on. Like she got onto the news about it. Like she was a high school friend of ours, and she like what was it? Did somebody spit in her face and just randomly out of nowhere, just walking down the like in a park somewhere? She was walking and some guys like, or was it some lady just like calling her shit, just straight up hating on her for no reason, just for being like looking Chinese. Um, I I don't know where that stuff comes from or why people feel the need that they have to say something to someone's face. But it feels like it's just, some people were raised to just hate. Like it's so stupid.
Yeah.
Like, when I think about like racism against black people, I don't know the politically correct black people, I guess. It's like that hatred level is more like a social status. It's like, because I guess again, white supremacy controlled, I guess, slavery, black slaves in the past. So it was like that looking down like that in a social status sense. But when I think about Asian hate, like if you're just going down the street, someone looks Chinese, you spit on their face, or you run and jump kick them to the chest, or whatever's happening right now. It's like, that's different. I don't, I've never heard of some white guy or Asian or any racist guy towards black people run and jump kick someone to the face or the chest. Like,
I mean,
or spit in their
nothing to heard
face. Exactly. Do you think though?
Oh, I wouldn't doubt it. There's bound to be people
Run and
that are
jump
like
kick people in the face? Like, why are we only seeing the Asians one now then? Run and jump kick to the face. Like, seriously, like,
because they got caught doing it.
Mm-hmm.
they got caught
It's
doing it. I mean, it's
so-
happening during the day, daylight hours, 4 p.m. in the middle of a public park.
Mhm.
Someone gets pummeled to the face just for being an Asian. I guess.
I mean, just because we don't see it doesn't mean it's not happening. In my
It's
mind,
true.
it's like I know that like hateful people are out there and they're probably doing some wretched stuff to others, and it's like just
Okay.
because I don't see it, hell yeah, it's probably happening. All that stuff with like sex trafficking, like obviously I
Okay.
don't know
Yeah.
about you guys.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
fucked up. Okay. Okay. Yes. Okay. I mean that whole industry is. I mean, yeah, that's not race. This has nothing to do with race. It's like profit and other.
Yeah,
other
I mean,
things,
I'm
yeah.
just saying that as example.
Hey,
Like,
Kyle.
just because we don't see it doesn't mean it's not happening.
Mhm.
I mean, whether the timing of it, I don't think that has any kind of bearing on the situation, or it doesn't really. It has nothing to do with anything, really. Like whether we found out about it now, or we find out about it a year from now, whether it was at the same time as like, unless it blew up at the same time as like BLM, like it doesn't matter. There's obviously issues around race, and there's obviously people out there that still think hateful things towards people just because of the way they look. Like I thought we were over this. Like, it's so nutty. Like it's so wild that to think that somebody out there's like, that person doesn't look like me. Get the fuck out. Like what? Really? Like you're all
Mhm.
human beings. They're just like not necessarily different species of humans. It's just everyone's a human. Like everyone's just trying to live and go about their day.
I'm struggling here,
Uh,
sorry.
One
I
of
want
the
to add
situations.
something.
Oh, go ahead.
I saw a video years ago with a black kid, and he jumps up at a bus stop. He jumps and grabs onto like the rail or something, and swings and kicks this old Chinese lady in the face.
Yeah.
That was years ago. And I remember seeing it. I'm like, what in the fuck? And the other one that made it on Reddit recently with like that big guy who like kicked down that
Old lady
old,
in
was
the
it a
hotel.
lady or a guy? Like it was outside of the, and then at the end of the video,
Security
no one
closing
came to help, but the security guard shut the door instead.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That was the recent one, right? But
that was the recent
I
one.
immediately thought back to that first one. But I mean, yeah, so these crazy things have happened. I'm surprised that didn't get more attention when that happened years ago. Like, the internet was there. It was viral enough for like me to see it. I don't go searching for these things.
Yeah.
But it's a bigger thing now because probably the spa shooting, right?
It's
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
it's the fact that it's after the spa shooting. Like that was such a
So like people died. Like some guy went nuts and actually shot and killed a bunch of Asian people. But was it because they were Asian or because they were a woman? Because the guy was like, what did he say? Like sex addict or something.
Oh, really?
So maybe he didn't even know what races that they are going in there. He just wanted to go in there and shoot a bunch of women that, I guess to him, rejected him. I don't know.
Oh, is it that? Is this the guy that they were also saying was he had a bad day?
yeah.
Right.
Mhm. That's so wild. I don't understand some people. Like, how are you raised to be like that? Like, you know what's weird? Like, I live across, so in the cul-de-sac here, it's pretty much like a bunch of retired people. Like, out of the 6 homes here, 4 of them are more or less like they're good. They're retired. They're just enjoying life as it is. But like, the one dude, like, you can tell he grew up in like an era where it was okay to like call people by certain slurs and like names, because he has no problem saying those kind of things in front of me. Like when he's referring to like, like anybody of different colors, like, okay, I get it, but at least he's nice about it. You know what I mean? Like he understands that there's, everyone's just a human. Like he, despite being raised in an era where like, it was normal to discriminate against certain people. He's kind of come around over the last few decades to just be like, yeah, we're just all people. I mean, he'll still say like, I don't want to say any of these things, but like, he'll still
Is he just
drop.
using the term, or does he still believe?
He's just using the term.
He just uses the terms. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pretty sure he has. Pretty sure I caught him on it once. I didn't really make much of it. I'm just like, it's just a word.
Mm.
Have you guys ever had like been hated on just because you're Asian? Like, have you ever had the whole, like, not necessarily racism, but like the whole bullying and that kind of stuff?
Not
I've
so
been,
much
I've been
for me.
openly, I've been openly called like Chinese man and Chingy Chong, and
Yeah.
for sure in Trinidad, for sure.
Yeah,
And
I
I
think.
mean,
Yeah, go ahead.
you can't, like, they don't want to kill me, hopefully, but they definitely feel superior to me and to people like me, is what it seems like. It seemed like a bully mentality, but as you grow older, you're like, okay, these people, they're like not educated at all, and they grow up around other black people that for some reason hate Asian people, because to them maybe they're like, okay, I've been trying to make a living, and then these Asian people come and they take the jobs, and now they seem to be doing well, and so maybe I'm just trying to give them the benefit of the doubt, because it's almost like, how I no longer blame. You can't blame bullies. You have to find out why that bully became like that. And oftentimes you'll find a much darker reason, and then all of a sudden you kind of start feeling sorry for this bully. So as I mature, you just have to, where they hardly see any Asians. So I would be like an outsider coming in. Like if I go to a certain beach area that doesn't really see Asian people and there's a bunch of local people there, you'd get it, because you just feel hostility. You feel like I don't know, they might be jealous of how you're living. They might see, I mean, there's a reason why you're supposed to dress down. Like, but even me dressing like how I usually dress, which is in 20-year-old clothing, they still see like a life that they are jealous of. Maybe I'm assuming here, obviously, like they're not gonna tell me anything, but to me racism is passed down and it's generational, and it's like your parents and your friends and stuff, if they view Asians as like the enemy, let's say, then you will, you know, you can be formed like that. It's, you know, kind of like mind control, but like you are a product of your environment and the people in your life. So
For sure, I'd agree. I think growing up in Hamilton, like Asians alone was a huge minority compared to like other areas in the GTA. But I don't really prominently remember being bullied or things like that. But I mean, it's probably because I wouldn't take it as a race thing. I'd take it as a we're kids kind of thing, and you know, kids aren't really mature, so they're just gonna do whatever. So I can't really speak to that, but I think out of the coverage that I've been seeing recently with like the whole Asian hate thing, I think obviously I've been seeing a lot more coverage and viral videos from the US. I think the pandemic is definitely a big part of why it's maybe an additional reason for them. I mean, when you start thinking about the last 4 years, or maybe just the last year of Trump being in power, and you know, a person of that authority, you know, using some of the derogatory things like,
Yep.
you know, the China flu and, you know, Kung flu and whatever. You know, when I think of the media that way, yeah, I don't, like after you mentioned, I don't see it as a status thing. I think it's just people are, you know, it's quarantine, it sucks, and everyone needs some way to vent and something to, or some place to vent on. And I think that's probably why a little bit of this has been not come about, but I just think it's been more exaggerated.
I wouldn't say exaggerated. Exaggerated kind of implies that it's
well,
not
yeah,
real.
sorry,
yeah.
It's just more like
it's just
Amplified.
more
Amplified.
coverage, or just,
more prominent.
yeah.
We're seeing it a lot more because of the times.
You know, like two things come out, like for me in my head, I'm like, yo, the more it's good that we're like hearing about these things, we can hear about these issues, people are able to like show what's actually happening in some certain situations, and like we see people's true colors. But at the same time, like, do you think it spurs more people to, you know, it spurs more of those hateful people to continue that trend? It's like, well, if that guy beat her up, I'm gonna go ahead and beat somebody else up too. Like, I feel like it's such a double-edged sword in that, you know, it's good that we're seeing the issues and people are aware. Like, it's good to have a voice out there, but at the same time, it's just like, is this fuel under the fire? Like, are we giving birth to more people that have the similar feelings against, you know, Black people or against Asians, or just against their own like people that aren't the same race as them? Like, are we giving birth to more racists?
Like a mob mentality type thing, like, oh,
yeah.
I'm not the only one that feels this way, and they
Exactly.
can do these things. Yeah.
Or you mean like a copycat effect? Like
Mob mentality, copycat effect. I would say like either one of those. Yeah, because
it's
like,
copycat is. I wouldn't just say it's just so they did it so I could do it, but it's almost like empowering, because they're now figuring out that it's happening and people are getting away with it. then if they did share in that same view or perspective, then yes, it might empower them now to participate more in a violent way. Here's the thing too, like, yes, we are a group and friend circle of a bunch of Asians, but you know, we don't necessarily, I think, in my opinion, none of us really follow that stereotype that you would find any of these targets to be. Like, in the way we live, in the way we look, yes, like, people will just see us, maybe, and I've not gotten, like, derogatory comments for being Filipino, but I've gotten derogatory comments thinking that they think that I'm Chinese or something, or just, you know, not just Asian, but usually, like, I think, you know, chink, maybe, I think I've gotten, even in the basketball court, or, and then, you know, they realize if you're decent or you actually play good ball, then you earn their respect, and all of a sudden those terms don't happen anymore. They don't make those terms anymore. And I think that's also another reason why maybe I haven't really experienced it directly, because I don't live the stereotype life, or I don't present the stereotype type of behavior that these people are basing their hate on. Does that make sense?
What would that stereotype be? Because
Well,
in these cases, they were just like people walking around. Like, how can there be any kind of inkling of that person's probably rich? Like, they were just literally walking around. Like, are we talking about like people hating on rich Asians?
no, like there's the stereotype of behavior of like specific Asian groups here in Canada or here in North America. You know, they don't speak the language, they exploit the system, and you know, like that. I'm not for these stereotypes or these views, but I'm talking about like what's one of the views? Like, they come here and so they can bring in their grandparents, and then they take advantage of the system and get paid more because of being elderly. They don't contribute to the system, but somehow they get more pension or something than that, and someone who's built in, you know, their career here. And yeah, it's all like foreign investment in property, and then that's what's driving the prices up in condos and rents. All of that. That's what I mean. That's that perspective on this racism as to why people hate Asians for the economy, or for yeah, that.
You know what? Like, hearing that, I'm like, that's heavy reasoning for anyone to hate on somebody. Because like,
Oh,
if
I'm not
somebody has
saying,
that-
oh, here you go. Okay, you can beat him up now. I'm just saying there's like a list of reasons, like political reasons why people don't like a certain race here. You know? I'm not saying, but you're saying pandemic has somehow given them another reason. I'm just trying to figure out was that really the original reason? They're like, oh, damn, like these people are taking money, raising prices, beat them up. I don't think so. Like, it's, you know what I'm saying?
I thought the original reason is just because they're different. Like, you think about how racism against black people was, I don't know. Oh god, it's purely just on looks, like, right? Like, it's just on like the way people look. I thought the same thing.
Like the very original, why it started?
Yeah, I thought it was just because of the way we looked. And then all those other reasons of like, okay, whatever you mentioned, the whole like bringing your grandparents and family in from a foreign country, taking our jobs, that whole thing. Like, it's another reason on top of the looks, on top of looking different. And then now COVID's another reason on top of not looking the same or having that.
Well, with black people, it was way deeper than just being different.
I mean, yeah, like
Black people were owned; they were possessions.
yeah, but
They
that
were
wasn't
not
just it wasn't just black people though. But yeah,
I mean,
any
generally, yes.
any large empire that went to colonize anywhere in the world did that, right? So
Oh, right, yeah.
it's regardless of what they look like there. It's just whoever had more power, or I guess military power, to do it, to go to a place that's not from home and find a people who are probably, they had their own social statures and social statuses and whatever developed, but no, they all look the same and they don't look like the people conquering them. And then boom, then you've got this new construct of like slavery. Okay, so, but yes, a bunch were brought into the US, North America. Then you get that whole, you know, revolution, civil war and all that stuff. And then, so there's generations there where owning that race for labor was a thing. And that's what you guys are talking about. They were raised to, in an era where that was okay, for them to know that that was normal. And now it's not normal anymore. Everyone's equal, how it should have been the whole time. And so there's an aspect of like, this is the values that they grew up on, and that's that what they were taught. And then there's another aspect of just, oh, that person looks different, right? But I don't think it's just that person looks different. That was a long thought.
That's fair. I mean, really, who really knows what's going through these people's heads that hate on other races?
Like, okay, here's a question. So the big story last year was Can't Breathe.
George Floyd.
Floyd. Okay, so that was a white man in power who had control, who abused the control and clearly did not show consideration or whatever for Floyd in that scenario, and killed him and committed murder. Now, you know, yeah, arresting him, he was detained, he was committing crimes prior and all that stuff. We know the background of Floyd. We know a little bit of background of I don't know, actually know the cop's name, but the cop, right? Like, there was stories on both sides. Here we have stories of all these things happening, of old Asian people getting hurt. Generally old Asian people. We find out a little bit about them, you know, the background, whatever. There's some stories, but I never find out about who committed it. Is it just because we haven't caught them yet? Like, who are these people? Like, what are they raised on? Like, you know, why aren't we knowing about them?
I wouldn't want to go that route, because you think about it, are we gonna start saying it's like one certain group of people? You know what I mean? Like, all of a sudden.
Well, that's why I want to know who it is, so we can't do that, so we don't generalize. Why is it now?
One?
Yeah, which
I
one?
was gonna say that recent one with
outside the door,
outside the hotel or outside the building.
Wasn't that a black guy?
Yeah, I was gonna say that was. It looks like it was a black guy out of those.
It was a big black dude in a suit.
Yeah.
So I'm like, what the fuck? Like, what? I don't get it. She just left. I was wondering, okay, and why did the hotel close the door? That was the weirdest part.
Well, no, that person was walking by. They weren't in the hotel, or they weren't in that building.
Wasn't leaving the hotel. Okay. All right. Oh,
but yes, God. They were just walking by, and then
jump kick to the chest, and then beat.
Like,
so, like, I want to know who that guy is, and especially, I mean, you'd think they would cover who that. Like, they had footage. Did they not catch him?
No, he walked away.
Are they looking for him?
Potentially.
I'm assuming, right? If that woman dies, it's murder, isn't it? Like, what is compelling people to be like, oh yeah, it's okay to murder people now because of this reason? Like, and yeah, I get the outrage of like BLM now. Like, it's like, what's the argument though? We don't know anything as to like, or that story with the guy shooting 9 people, 6 of them were Asian, and now I'm finding out that there was a side to it that could have been because he was a involuntary celibate. I was not aware of that side of it, that story.
So what?
I'm not saying wild. No, but the angle is it was Asian hate. It was that. Yeah, but is it that, or is it?
I don't think it was that. I think it was a fucking lunatic who had guns, and he's most likely on meds.
Well, apparently he had a bad day.
He's really frustrated, and he's like, you know what? There's a lot of these fucking ladies who go to the spa. I'm gonna kill all of them.
That's fucking
and
wild.
He goes to the spa, and sadly, I mean, a lot of old Asian ladies frequent spas.
Oh, I thought they all worked there.
Oh yeah, if the workers, yeah, that makes even more sense, because yeah, a lot of workers at spas are like what, Viet, like a ton of them.
No, that's the first I heard
They
of
were
the whole
Chinese.
incel thing. That's wild. to me,
I've
like-
never heard of that. Yeah, I never heard that angle of it
They say
before.
he's a sex. He said he's a sex addict.
Oh.
That's what they said.
Is
So
it
I'm
that
like,
kind of massage place? Was that?
Maybe.
I thought that's what I
Maybe.
thought. That's what I thought. But I didn't know that was the angle. I just figured he chose it as a target because it's a lot of Asians, and apparently that was the thing. Mike's saying they arrested the guy. Which guy, Mike? The front of the hotel guy, or I mean, obviously the parlor guy, the massage parlor guy. It was a massage parlor, right? It wasn't a spa like nails and stuff.
I
Was it?
just heard spa.
I thought it was like a nail spa salon type thing.
Hotel guy. Oh, they arrested the hotel guy. Okay, is he being charged for murder?
Well,
Just pull it up, Danny.
murder? No one died.
I haven't even seen the video.
Oh, this
so I
woman?
don't
Well,
know.
she's in critical condition, is she not?
I didn't think so. Is she?
Man.
Damn.
I got nothing. I don't know enough.
Okay, maybe just assault.
But
Aggravated
it's
assault.
It's still wild to me
Still,
how people
yeah.
can think this way. Like,
Yeah, they're like, oh, this is fine. I'm okay to do this because I believe somehow Asians are suppressing my life with pandemic or the economy, or I can't buy a place for a decent price because of your people are jacking up the price. I don't know, man. Like,
you know what's wild to me? Like, we had the whole BLM. Well, the BLM movement. Not to say had. BLM movement still a thing.
mm,
All of a sudden, like, I feel like this year it's gonna be a big like push for the Asian community. What if this makes like full circle round to be like, wait, all lives matter? Like, how like all lives matter versus
Yeah,
the
there was
BLM.
that whole thing. Yeah.
yeah.
Oh god.
Well, I hope.
What if,
Okay,
like-
well, let's clarify that. That's not the All Lives Matter movement. I hope whoever's watching. All Lives was strictly created as a response to Black Lives Matter, and it's strictly because of the wording. It was just the wording. If Black Lives Matter chose to have Black Lives Also Matter as their hashtag, it would not have. All Lives Matter would not have been created. It was just because of the way it was worded, and they were like, "That's stupid. I don't want to stand for that because all lives matter." They should have just made it Black Lives Matter 2 or Black Lives Also Matter. Mike saying it was a homeless man who stabbed his mom when he was 17, or something like that. Don't quote me on that. Okay, I just quoted him on that, and then he said
Mike said.
Exposed.
that All Lives Matter is going through the rounds in the conservative Reddit. Oh yeah, there we go. So okay, so Warr, you're the only person that actually told me that it was somebody you knew. That friend who got
Oh,
like
yeah,
in a
this is I
bus
can't
or
remember which
something,
year.
streetcar
I was trying to find the video, but
or
she was
subway.
Justine Abigail Yu. She I don't know what happened. I can't remember if somebody spat on her, just called her shit. Something she must have got spat on, because otherwise it would have been like covered by the news at any point in time.
In Pickering, here's a side story. I was in grade 6, maybe, or 7, and a black kid, probably in grade 3, spat on me, the back of my neck while I was walking away. Don't even know this kid. I turn around and he's giggling like a little school kid, like a schoolboy. I don't think it was a race thing. I think he thought it was funny. And I couldn't really do anything about it because it was on school grounds. And I don't think I would have generally done anything about it, but I confronted him and be like, yo, what the fuck? And that's all I could do. I'm not a violent physical like that. Maybe I grabbed his shirt or whatever, but I didn't do anything. Just got mad. That is the closest thing I guess to I can say is to this kind of an incident. But I don't even think it was race based. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I'm suppressing that. Maybe he did think, oh, I can spit on that guy, but not all these other people. Who knows? I definitely had, I looked Hispanic back then. I don't know. I was so dark and I had dark hair, so I don't know.
kind of in the same boat. I haven't had any like actual physical harm done to me in that sense. It's just, if anything, I've had like the most racist like experiences in Africa of all places, where like I'm in an international school, but yet people still would like call me out as the Chinese kid, or the Chino, China, whatever they would say. Or, like, I've been given the N bomb. I'm like, is it just because I'm from Toronto? Like, why would you drop me an N bomb? I'm like,
Oh, in the derogatory sense?
I think it was just, it was hard to read. Like, me as a kid, I'm just like, you can call me whatever you want. I don't know if they were just doing it because I was the new kid, or if they meant it jokingly. I mean, over time, I became friends with everyone. But I mean,
Wait, the white
initially,
kids were calling you the N-bomb?
it wasn't even white kids. Like, there was like 10% white people in my class.
So who?
Like,
Okay.
it was just like, everyone else in the class, really.
Okay. Welcome, Mike.
Hello, hello.
Hello.
Right, I'm trying to set this up.
I mean, again, like, it's just this whole thing of like Asian hate, or even any kind of like form of racism, it's just so hard to gauge or really understand. Just I think for me, it's just because I'm fortunate to not have to deal with it, or I'm fortunate to not have to see it firsthand in front of me, being like any kind of like hate towards our race or any kind of race in front of me.
Yeah, well, luckily for us, we're like, it's not like we're in New York where we interact with so many, other people. We're sort of like sheltered in a way, especially with lockdown and stuff. But I can't imagine like if that was my mom or, or parents walking down the street and that happened to them. It's like, how would you feel about that? That would just make me really mad.
Man.
You know what I mean?
I think also
If I
it's harder,
witness it,
we're in Canada, not the States. I think
It happens in
New York-
Canada,
New
just
York,
not-
you think of a
generally
melting
not
pot of
Toronto.
people, right? You still have a variety of people in New York, right? Like people, there's so many different races still in New York, still, right? So, yeah.
Funny you
That's why
mentioned.
sorry to cut you up there.
Yeah. I was
Fun-
thinking earlier that it was like a mix of like what Kyle was saying, how I'm sure some people, they feel that, they want someone to blame for what's happening right now. And same with like, I was also agreeing with something, what Warren was saying, that like people still have a mob mentality, they feel disenfranchised. Is that a word? They feel that, they're being affected because of this thing, but they're also they're taking comments and ideas from other people to confirm their thoughts. And when you have a lot of people talking about something that you agree with, then
It's an echo chamber.
yeah, it's like it becomes like an echo chamber. That's why even like that's why it's really it sounds like it's not a big deal when someone like Trump says it's a China virus, because he's right, it does come from China. But if you're a person who's who feels like he's affected so much by this virus, and he sees that, it still makes sense that that kind of person would take that a different way, not the way that we would say like, yeah, it is a China virus, but there's still an understanding that it can be a dangerous thing to say in a way. No, but that's what I was saying. Like, I agree with Kyle, they feel that way, but I also agree with Warren where, yeah, you might catch yourself in an echo chamber with both sides, with whatever side you're on, just anything in general. That's what I was thinking.
Couple things I liked. Funny that you mentioned melting pot. I heard a criticism for that melting pot term. Even Toronto, any major city with a large variation of races and nationalities, it's not. None of them are melting pots. You have Chinatown, you have Greektown, you have Little Italy. It's what do they call it? It's a salad bowl. So no one's actually mixing with anybody. It's just maybe they intermix when walking down the street, or they go to different restaurants and stuff like that. But no one's adopting other people's cultures. Like, it's Sure, they might partake in certain things, but it's more like a salad bowl, not a melting pot. And I agree with that notion. As for, I just want to clarify too. I think everyone's in agreement with this, but like, we all understand that the people who are actually committing these hate crimes, they're fucked up. It's not like they're educated in like the normal mental state where they are actually rationalizing with some sort of like somewhat logic agenda. So there's that side, the extreme people who actually who commit the crime. But then you have, I guess, I don't know if it's the next level, but the people who think that way but aren't acting, right? People who share in the same ideals but aren't doing the criminal acts. They just think it. Maybe they have prejudice other ways where they'll just not talk to you, or maybe not even offer an old Asian woman a seat because, you know what I mean? Like you get those stories where they're like, or they're just like screaming at people who don't speak the language on a bus or in a subway and things like that. Like the rudeness, not the violence, but there's rudeness, and then it's coming out in that. And then you take it another step before that, where they just try to avoid in general, and they don't want to take part in the culture and whatever. So there are these levels. We're not just talking about the crime, the people committing the crime, because we understand there's definitely something missing and something wrong mentally for them to be doing what we're hearing on the headlines. Does that make sense for everyone? Everyone agrees, right? Like, it's not like we just say, oh, Trump said China virus, someone who's like relatively smart, but who's sick of the pandemic, who's stuck at home, lost their job, maybe tough with money, can't find a new job, sick of isolation, all of a sudden is thinking, I want to hurt and get rid and kill some of these people. No, like it takes a certain level, you know, it's not the same as what happened there with George Floyd. I don't think that man, the cop, well, I don't know. But I don't think so. I mean, that guy had a job. That guy was hired. Yeah, he might have had complex. He was like maybe second or third tier down, and he abused his power. But he didn't go like, I believe this is it, and this is my role, therefore I can do this as a part of a means to rid the world of another black person. You know what I mean? It wasn't like that. You don't just commit violence.
Like,
you don't commit violence
not
with
completely intentional, but I mean, they're yeah. That's why there's an argument that it's systemic, because it's like saying, I mean, if we're talking about Black Lives Matter and stuff, that's why they're saying it's a systemic thing, not a individual thing.
I think it's
because
both.
maybe they went something through training, or maybe they've had like a lot of experiences with certain people, and it just creates a bias in their head, and because you can always trace it back and back and back and farther back to the past, and I don't know, that's how I feel happens. But with the Asian stuff, that can be traced to the past, but at the same time, like, it's like with the recent Asian stuff, it's like it's an increase from last year of like 150% or whatever the percent is. It's it's like a market difference than last year. It's not like a consistent ongoing thing like BLM kind of thing. Yeah, so that is a sign that something happened within the past year that triggered these people to start thinking this way. Ignited that, right? Yeah.
Similar to how 9/11 was like anti like Muslims and for like huge. Triggered that. Yeah, it was big, right? They automatically, just by the way you look, people thought you were a terrorist, and now it's like that. Now I guess some people are like, automatically by the way you look, you're like, oh, you brought the virus to my country. It's like, I don't. Yeah. Anyway, but Warren's right. It could have been happening this whole time. We just don't have news about how much it's been happening before. But now it's relevant. So now there's news about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But then there's also the same idea as what Kyle was saying. You know what I mean? Like, people might feel that, I don't know, certain Asians have a certain status or whatever, and they have a bias because they see whatever's happening. It's like, have you guys, oh man, you guys haven't seen it. what's the movie? It's by Spike Lee. That's a good example of, you know, it explains like the things that black people go through, you know, stereotypical race. Yeah, it's a good movie. You guys should watch it.
What's it called?
Yeah. So when it's like
movie, or are you just gonna?
yeah, let's
Spike
figure
Lee
out what
movie
this is
racism.
about. Yeah, let's figure out this movie. I really
It's
like the
most
movie.
recent one, right? Because he did.
No, no,
come
no,
out-
it's old. It's old, like
Oh,
80.
it's an
like,
old one. Okay.
yeah, it's
I thought he did something recently.
Do the Right Thing. Do the Right Thing.
Do the right
Do
thing.
the right thing.
Yeah. So I don't know when I mentioned it, but I'm pretty sure it was the riots. The riots. So when the riots happened, you had people thinking a certain way, either way, right? If you
Which
when
riots?
you watch the riots after George Floyd,
Oh, okay.
so you know you had people saying like, oh, they shouldn't be destroying these businesses, like they had nothing to do with it. But then there's also the other side.
Yeah.
And I think watching that movie, it doesn't explain why, but it makes you question. Because in the end, whatever happens in the end of that movie, you might have your own thoughts of what the right thing was, but then it makes you think like, why did I think that way, and why would other people think the other way? Yeah.
I think that's a huge topic too.
Yeah.
Is why.
Because people think,
Why-
yeah.
You know, the root of the cause. Why
Yeah.
is this person thinking this way? Like when Warren says, "I can't believe people think this way." Why?
Mhm.
There must be a reason, and it would be cool to just like go down and really find out the answer. But then you enter into like the systemic kind of thing, where you see why an entire generation might think a certain way in a certain area, in a certain
Mhm.
city, let's say, and that's where you get really in the weeds when you think of like how governments are run, and the let's say like who was talking about like the black housing project, like Joe Rogan, his dad, right? Like his stepdad grew up, and then the city planners planned his area to be a black neighborhood, as in a worse neighborhood, so like a poor neighborhood. So they would notified him, and they said, you probably want to move, we're making this whole zone a black neighborhood.
Mhm.
And he was like, I like black people, and he stayed. And so he, you know, that's the kind of, so he was a minority. Most of the white people in that area moved, right? So this is just one generation back,
Mhm. They used
And,
to do that, yeah.
and that was systemic, like from the government top down.
Yeah.
They're planning a city. Let's put all the poor black people over here. Let's put all the rich white people over there. Like it's, and then so when you see something at the end of the road that's a riot, maybe you should be asking like, why? Like, how did they get there?
Mhm.
And you'll find out an answer could go all the way back to that, right? To a government that can plan for a certain group of people to be disenfranchised. They can plan that. And it's been done.
Mhm.
And no matter what anyone says, the proof is there, really.
And okay, around just to question everyone, how much do you think this Asian hate thing is systemic? How many do you guys think it's systemic? I don't.
I mean, the jump can be explained with I think it's the mob mentality thing. Like, you know, they jump to simple conclusions because of, you know, what's happening in the world, and they want someone to blame. They want a scapegoat.
I agree with that.
But I mean, there's still underlying, even before, like you guys all had examples from when you were young of, you know,
Of
people doing
racism.
racist things to you. So something
Yeah.
was there. you
Well,
know?
that's I
whether that's, I don't know if that's systemic.
well,
what
when
is
you're
it?
young, when you're young, nothing else but the way you look or the way you act or the way you sound. There's you don't know any more of that, right? Do you really like? And the only people you're ever really exposed to maybe is in your class or at school.
Well, in my example, if you can remember my example,
Yeah.
these are adult men. Like insulting me, being hostile towards me because of my race.
Right.
Adult men, and I am a kid.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. Yes.
like,
In Trinidad, right?
yeah.
Okay. What would you
I only
attribute
tried
that?
to make sense of it as I grew older, and I moved to Canada, and and it's only then, because when I was young, I was like, "What the fuck is wrong with these people?" Like,
Right.
Like I felt so hurt,
Mhm.
but it wasn't hurt as in black people hate me, because I have tons of black people that I love. It was, what's up with these people?
Yeah.
I went to this village, and all these people in this village seem to look at me with
Disdain.
like I'm a monster or something, like I'm
Yeah.
some fucked up thing. And I was like, why they hate me? I just want to be friends with everybody. And that's sort of like a child's mentality. Children just want to have fun and be friends with people. And when you receive something from an adult, it's just like, what? Why? And so that's what I was talking about, like when I try to rationalize it. Why would these grown-ass men be making fun of a little Chinese kid? Why? So I try to come up with a reason. And
What'd you
that's
come
what I
up with? What did you come up with? Finally,
said-
like just looking back. No, but I mean, like then you get it.
No, I explained it. I believe that they see Asian people as like successful people that don't belong, and
Right.
so they hate us, and
It was
they
like-
they're kind of jealous or something. And
Like in their territory.
they see us with like a semi-decent car, a working car. Maybe they
Right,
don't have a
right.
working car. I was in a village,
Right,
right?
right.
These people aren't educated or
Okay.
wealthy at all. So, I have to realize that they have these circumstances, and so anyone that's not in their bubble, they could have treated a Jew the same way as they treated me. They could have treated like anyone that's not like them, just like me. But how do you identify me? Chinky eye, right?
Right.
Chinese boy.
Do you think it would have happened if they just a wealthy looking black person?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, if you roll up in there with like a Rolls Royce and a suit, you could be black. They'll probably just rob you. Like so it's it's like racism, but the reason is not because of the race. The reason might be something else.
Okay.
It's just like, look at all these people coming into our area, these tourists, and they're like jealous. Maybe like this is what I believe. Like for you to just be randomly angry at someone, why? So maybe they're very frustrated with their life. They don't have a bunch of they don't have like a nice house. They don't have like nice shoes. They some may not have shoes. So they look at any tourist with hostility.
So yeah, same question around for the other people who not answered yet. But do you think any of this Asian hate is systemic racism?
I don't think so. I'm more inclined to think it's not. I've from what I can tell from social media and Twitter, it's coming from this whole COVID thing. I think people want a scapegoat. No doubt there are people out there that just hate other races other than their own. But at the same time, I think the whole COVID thing just adds another reason.
Okay. Another question.
I think if it was systemic, sorry, I just add one more thing. Like
Yeah.
For instance, the black example with Jorong and stepdad. Nothing like that was done with Asians. Like we're gonna plan this city so that these billionaire Chinese people that are coming and buying up everything, they're gonna go over there. That wasn't That wasn't really planned. That's literally just Chinese billionaires trying to piece up the rest of the world.
Well, I mean, I guess in a systemic sense, a new tax has been introduced. If you were to purchase property in Toronto and you didn't live there for a given amount of time, you are taxed extra for it.
I think that's great.
They understand it's foreign investment, and they want to hang on to property because they know it's going to go up in value, but they actually never live there, and it's keeping these units away from people who actually need to live there. So
while I agree that is not racist, that's not racist at all.
Yeah.
There's billionaire Russians and
Yeah.
and other countries that do the same thing. Like if you go down the street here by UW, all the student housing is Chambry.
Mm.
And there's like an entire street, Leicester Street's owned by a Russian. He owns all of them.
Yeah.
He's from what I hear, is a billionaire.
Yeah, but is he keeping them empty? Is he keeping them empty? He's renting them out to people at least. Yeah.
Renting them out, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, these Chinese people, they're not purposely keeping them empty. They want to rent them out to people.
I think they keep it empty.
Some people are keeping them empty.
Yeah,
because they don't want to, jeopardize the property and like upkeep of renting and getting renters.
They're just
and dealing with
they park their money here. That's what they do.
Yeah. So
whoever and it doesn't have to be Chinese people. I'm sure other people do it too.
Yeah. A lot of people.
It's an easy way to park money, and they know they speculate that the market's gonna go up.
Yeah.
Well, at least in Waterloo, like these places are not empty.
Yeah, that's good.
But it is true that a lot of buyers, if not most buyers, are Chinese.
Foreign investment.
I have friends in real estate, realtor friends, and I'm just like, be honest with me. Are most of these buyers Chinese? He's like, well, a lot of them. I'm like, fuck yeah, a lot of them.
Okay.
I'm upset because I'm in that group because I feel like I could never afford a house because of this. So I'm kind of in that group. Mm-hmm. But I'm not saying I hate Chinese people. That would be kind of strange.
Mm-hmm. But it's easy to do that. It's easy to think that.
I'd say maybe another reason why I don't see it very much is that I live in a Chinese city. So, or predominantly Asian. Actually, probably, maybe 60-70% Asian, like Chinese Asian, and then like 30% brown people take up Markham. So, most of the Pinots that I know are in Scarborough or Mississauga. So, they're not in Markham. So, okay, my next question about this news coverage, this rise in news coverage. And so, do you think we're going to see martyrdom of any of these Asian victims? How certain victims last year with the BLM movement were glorified and put on murals and, these marches and stuff on there. Do you think it's going to... I'm not hoping for any of that, but do you guys see that happening here this year if this shit continues?
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised.
I think it's a different thing.
Yeah, it's hard. That's comparing Asian hate to black.
Yeah, like police brutality.
Yeah,
white cops against black men, black youths. Like it's a different beast.
Yeah, I agree.
Because that's again a system thing. Mm-hmm. Police are government, right? So it's
true.
It shouldn't be. I don't think it should be compared. It's a very
like how black mothers have to be so worried about their young children and have to warn them by the time they're small. Like, okay,
they have to go through a talk.
If a cop ever asks you to do, please just put your hands up and don't, like.
Yeah.
We never had to deal.
We don't deal with that. It's just now like watch your back anywhere you go.
A systemic thing.
Yeah.
It's a very different event because like right now the most prominent event for the Asian hate is spa, but it's not like, it's like don't work in a spa. Like that's not not the end result or kind of feel here. You know what I mean? Like I think it's just
prominent because they were killed? Is that what you mean, prominent? Or
Well, I mean, when most people think Asian hate, I would assume that's kind of the thing that most people would think about, or likely the event that most people would think about. Like,
most
I wouldn't think it'd be the
Originally,
same.
yeah.
Like when you start thinking about Black Lives Matter, most people will generally think immediately about George Floyd and what spawned. Like that was the catalyst, that was the trigger.
And all the other names
for
are,
last
like,
year. I mean,
previous-
yeah,
are
there were
previous
lots, but yeah,
later ones that died.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, for me personally, I don't know if it's different for other people, but I think the Asian hate, viral felt like it started with the spa event, right? But I
so
think those two events are just very different.
I guess I saw that Daniel Day Kim plea to Congress or whatever like that. Most of the headlines I'd been seeing, like that spa thing, was the first I've heard of someone going somewhere planned a shooting. But the other headlines, like most, I'm gonna say, of the other headlines was always about some old person who probably barely speaks the language, just going about their day in daylight, being attacked. That's what I see. When I see Asian hate, it's like I worry about old people who can't defend themselves. I wonder if I, let's say, looked more Asian, I don't know, and I was walking in that same street as these people working out at a playground, could I be targeted just because of the way I look and some guy run and jump kick me, right? Like, or like bash me in the face. That's the headline that I think. I don't think of like a younger person planning to go somewhere and shoot a place up because there's Asians there.
Yeah, that's fair. But I mean, like, when did you start looking for those things? Most people started searching for them
That's the thing.
because
I never looked. It was just when I saw on the feeds, like on people's
if you asked
stories
me
and
what Asian hate was, I would have pictured that. Like I said when I joined, that clip from years ago. You know, that old lady just got kicked in the face by this young kid.
yeah.
But now I see that since that shooting happened, I can see how that changes now. And say, what do you think of Asian hate? Well, didn't that dude just run up in a spa and shoot a bunch of Asian ladies? Like, I can see how that switches, but
yeah, like I don't think that is the trigger to cause all of the other things. I just think that was the viral thing that made all of these other stories start to come about, whether they happened, years ago or not. That
Oh
was
right,
just my-
like it needed, not it needed, but that headline allowed it to be more accessible and like relevant to everyone to see.
to start
Yeah,
speaking out and say that that's not the only type of Asian hate there is. Like, check out these
right.
other headlines type thing.
and then those have always been there.
Yeah.
Just it's not mass murder. So that takes me back to like, this is a one-off thing. Like, that dude's fucking insane. I want to know his story. I want to know what he was on. And I want to know why he felt like that and why he felt like he had to do that. Because you're a sex addict? What? I didn't see Tiger Woods going and running up somewhere and shooting a bunch of people. Although he could afford any woman he wanted. But
And plus, he was a celebrity. He wasn't an involuntary.
but I mean, there must be so many more people like this guy then, right?
You would think, yeah.
A
you'd
dude
think.
who just can't get and gets very sexually frustrated. So it's normal for a sexually frustrated man to like get a gun and shoot up a spa. Like, that's crazy. The guy's crazy.
Yeah. That event.
And that does not equate to Asian hate in general at all for me.
Yeah, but I think what a lot of people were saying with that instance in particular is the people's view of like Asian women. You know what I mean? I don't know, none of us are girls, but how they feel when what other people see Asian women as someone who's like, passive or whatever. People like
Oh, that.
like if you think about it, Asian women are like hyper sexualized because of, I don't know, they think they're, I don't know. People have
And
their ideas.
I
You know what I mean?
I know it's like
That's what the talk was about after
kind of
that.
taboo to talk in
Yellow
this manner,
fever
but
and
it
so on
was
so
it was
forth.
on
Yeah,
like
I understand
movies,
that, but
war
that has
movies,
nothing to
and
do with this crazy dude.
yeah, I agree.
hmm I know, but that's what brought up. That's the kind of thing that came up after that.
People
'Cause
are
it is a
trying to
thing.
tie it.
Yeah.
It is a thing, but they're trying to
Yeah.
tie it to this. I don't know, like
I know it's a thing. Yeah, I mean, yellow fever has been around since like as long as I can remember,
hmm
right?
So that's the
Since,
point
since
that
I,
they're trying to
since I
make.
hit
It's like,
puberty
why?
and I heard about that, I was like,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Is that racism? I don't know.
It's like, but you have like, people have a view of like Asian women as a certain, they have their views of Asian women.
yeah. My concern, like I'm
I
telling
can't speak about it, but we don't know what it's like. But from what I've been reading of what other people say, like, like cousins and other girls that I see on Instagram talk about their experiences being an Asian woman and how so many people treat them a certain way because they're Asian. Because
Like they treat them like they would expect a very passive woman.
yeah, no, not a very, no, like they just treat
And they
them.
just say fuck off. And then-
Yeah, like why, like how the media, I don't know, has taught people to think of what Asian women are like, or what I mean?
Okay, I see.
Yeah,
I mean,
submissive
there's no Instagram posts
and-
about that.
Submissive, yeah, that's a big one. Submissive,
but that's that's
But
like
I
old
mean,
school
You
movie
can think
shit.
what you
Like,
think. That
yeah.
doesn't mean you're submissive.
but this is
You
the
can
thing.
think that I'm a nerd and all this bad things, and I'm gonna say, all right, think that. That
Yeah.
don't make me feel any.
But
But
it is. I would consider that a form of racism because you have this stereotype of this person based on their race, and you
Yes.
treat them that way because of that. So
That's true.
Yes.
I handle racism differently to most.
mhm.
I will say that because
Yeah.
I grew up with it, so I can't let that shit affect me. So I have to let them feel what they want to feel, right? If you want to make it physical, then okay, I will defend myself. But you can say what you want to say. You can be racist. You will just be a racist.
Okay. Just it seems like these victims are all people who can't defend themselves, who just aren't able to, even verbally. Like even the person on the bus, or at least maybe there's an assumption that these people can't defend themselves. Like, even like I said, verbally. If someone's like treating you a certain way, or because of the way you look and it's stereotype, whatever, and they say something racist, and you just be like, what the fuck, man? And you speak English to them and straight up say, it kind of like diffuses the situation, because all of a sudden, oh, this person's like all of a sudden has equated themselves. Like, now we're equal. Like there's that combat, equal conflict battlefield. But every headline so far is not that. It's someone old and frail who can't speak the language. Therefore, it's like, I can get away with this. And there's that level of calculating of like your opponent or your target be like, this one I can win with, and then do it. It's not like it's happening to, well, I don't know.
It is.
Maybe it is. Yeah.
I'll give you a case. I'll give
Yeah.
you a case. I'm pretty sure it happens to everyone in some sort of way.
Okay.
But there's the girl in Calgary who's just scootering and a guy just bikes
Yeah,
past her.
I saw that
Sorry,
one.
yeah.
I saw that
You know
one.
what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
Like,
And she
I
had
mean, hate, man, like-
yeah, for sure.
Hmm?
I
What?
did see that.
happened?
This
There's a
couple,
girl-
He spat on her as she
Two-
was biking by.
Or
no,
like
they were on
longboarding or
skateboards.
something.
Yeah,
Skateboard.
a white boyfriend was behind his Asian girlfriend skateboarding, and this white male man was biking the opposite direction. And as he passed her, he spat on her face and said something like, "Go home, like chink," or something like that.
Something racist.
Yeah, and they were both like, "What the fuck, dude?" But he's gone. Like, he's on a bike in the opposite direction, and that was it. It was on a story too, because he was filming her boarding and just managed to catch that in the video. And that, you're right, I did see that.
Another example was in Edmonton. there was a Filipino. I think she was either mid 30s or early 40s. She was going home into her apartment. She was upstairs and she was about to go into her apartment. And then this, I don't remember if he was a white guy, if he was a native guy that stopped her. And then he's like threatening her, you know, like, get out of this building. I will decapitate you. Like, it got pretty intense.
And
Not necessarily old and frail, but still.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't, just say it's all just that. I think it's generalized overall. It's just it's easier in the media to get people's attention with these kinds of stories. But like, I don't know. But the question is, why did they do that? You want to ask them why. I'd like to know, like, if there was an interview with all these people, it's like, why do you think this?
like that guy in Alberta, you say, who spat on that girl.
Yeah, I would be interested to understand why.
Sorry?
My
I
guess,
would like to
the
sit down
guy
with
in
him.
Alberta who spat on that Asian girl. So I know out west there, isn't there like a splurge of Asian new investment of a lot of Asian people moving out there because it's cheaper, and there's like new communities with just a lot of.
Well, I don't want to
First-
assume things. I just want to know. That's why I say I'd like to know, straight from the mouth of this guy who did this. Why? But they'll never do that, right?
Oh, yeah.
It'd be
You
nice
got-
to
first
know
you gotta
the
catch
reason
him.
why.
Yeah.
You know what it reminds me of? This guy. God, I forget his name. He was on Rogan. The black guy who befriended KKK.
Yep.
That was fantastic. Like
He
people
changed
were
the leader,
just
right?
so
Like, yeah.
openly racist to him, and all he did was talk to these guys.
Yeah.
And the one guy he befriended was like a high-ranking KKK. You know how they have these weird names?
Yeah.
Dragon
Yeah,
Wizard,
like
something
he
druid.
He was like a super high-level one,
Yeah.
and he ended up giving
It's true.
this guy his robe.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Oh,
like
and he
Dragon
left.
Wizard Phoenix or whatever.
He actually left the Brotherhood too because of
Yeah,
it. Yeah.
That guy, can't remember his name. God, George,
Like Reverend or something.
Jeff?
Reverend.
I don't know.
He got like a bunch of KKK members just to quit.
Yeah.
And
That was cool because all he did was speak nicely to them.
yeah, that's it. You just speak to them and get to know their story, and you find out why.
I think.
I mean, some cases it's too late. Like generally,
I mean, them doing the
guys
action, it's already
with
too late.
access to guns, and they
You're
go
right.
kill people.
You're right. But also I do think that there's an active like they're actively avoiding to get to know, let's say, Asians. They don't even want to talk to them and put them in that level where there could be that equal level of communication, because it will penetrate whatever stereotype they've already adopted. Do you know what I mean? Like, where if
That's what I
if you-
mean. Like, but
yeah.
that one started off like that too. KKK people don't want to talk to any black people.
exactly.
So he kind of forced a conversation at some point somehow. I forget the story. But
Well,
yeah.
he wanted an interview, like, because he had like a show and he wanted to interview him. So it was like, he was like, we want to know what your stance is. Like, so they thought it was gonna be a means for them to just get their word out as to their ideals, and it's just like another public forum for them to do that. But then, obviously, the guy's super nice, and he could not like the guy. They sat at dinner and stuff, you know.
I
But
can't remember. But yeah,
Yeah.
something along those lines.
if you can keep words and communication out of it, it's a lot easier for people to hang on to the hate.
And also, the point about just a lot of these old Asian people getting victimized. It's just too easy to get away with.
Yeah.
And they feel like, they're just Asian. Like they can't even speak English, so fuck it. Like, you remember, I do not know if it was a black game, but it seemed like an awful lot of black kids were doing this. It was called Punch Out or something.
Yes.
And they would walk up behind anybody and sucker punch them, knock them out, and run.
Yeah.
And it was like a fad. It was scary. It was
Mhm.
like,
Hmm.
Like
That angered me so much.
middle-aged people, old people, young people, man, woman, like students. It was freaky, and I was like, okay. At one point, it was scary. Like, okay, too many of these kids are getting away with this.
Yeah.
I couldn't understand how they would get away. Like, I guess they need to find someone who was by themselves.
Yeah. It was you're alone and you're with the other group of people, and so you got
No, but
like,
I've seen some of the videos, and there are people.
oh yeah,
There are people around, and they do it and just run. Because who's really gonna chase a bunch of young, like athletic kids?
yeah. We'll pay
It
attention.
was really sad. I'm very glad that has stopped.
That fad's over. Yeah.
But it would be interesting to also talk to them and be like, why? Because they didn't seem to discriminate at all. They just wanted to get away with knocking somebody out.
Yeah. Anybody.
Yeah,
And-
I mean, in that case, it sounds like
That's
mob
immaturity and
It's just
yeah.
mob mentality. They just want to do it
But
for
who's
do
the
it, or
mob?
they like
It
their
was-
friends.
Their
Their friends
friends?
tell them this new
Like,
thing is cool.
peer
and they're
Really a
pressure.
mob. That's just like a
It's like a hashtag. I don't know.
same thing.
very
Peer pressure, whatever.
It's just as the viral as Andy's coming. It was like one of those, right? It was just a thing, or yeah.
You're
Thank God
following
that
this
thing's
group
done,
of people
man.
that
That was a really scary one because anyone could get that.
Any of us, yeah, could have got, yeah.
Any of us, yeah, anybody.
I actually thought around that time when there was a thing, I was like, I have to watch out. Make sure I look over my
Yeah,
back if there's
yeah,
a
for
group
me.
of kids.
Me too, for sure.
If I was passing by any younger group of kids in the mall or whatever like that, I'd think twice. I remember thinking that way too. I wanted to ask you guys too, any thought to, now how celebrities, the use of needing celebrity feedback or, celebrities speaking up for the cause. Have you guys seen any of that?
I mean, I haven't seen any of it, but I think it's good. I think it's a good way to get some of these issues out there. I think
Did
it's
you-
good that information's being passed around, as long as it's.
Did you see what Naomi
Correct.
Osaka said?
No, I haven't seen any of her statements, but I'm glad that she has a voice. I'm glad she uses it.
Well, I think the intention was there, but it was something along the lines. I guess I gotta paraphrase because I don't know it exactly, but it's like, you can like bubble tea and mochi and green tea ice cream and stuff. She was just mentioning a bunch of Asian snacks and stuff, but then you hate the people where all this stuff came from, and and it just breaks my heart or something like that. I don't know, when I read it,
She got it bad. She's black and Asian.
I just don't know. I don't know if I was just really up for the sentiment of referencing Asian treats as the things you like about the culture and you welcome about the culture, and then saying that you don't like the people. It didn't resonate with me because, like, I bet you any of these people who were committing these crimes who didn't like Asian people weren't really into the Asian treats and stuff and having bubble tea and desserts and all that either. So, but she got coverage because she's a celebrity and she got to say what she wanted to say. But you know what I mean? Like the forum, using their forum and so to be heard. But I guess you'd wish maybe. I would stand behind more of what Daniel Day Kim was doing with, informing of who these people were, pronouncing their names correctly, and saying why it's a danger for the community, and pleading to Congress, not just, some news outlet going up to Asian celebrities and athletes now because they're somehow relevant in the news. What do you think about what's going on? I don't know.
Well, in the case of like Naomi Osaka or like any of those celebrities, the people that they can reach are what, like kids, and
Yeah.
younger people, and
Yeah,
that's
from the aspect
who
of like a role model. So
yeah. So that's
Yeah. Oh, for
when
sure.
think
I get why they
useful.
asked her. I
Quick,
just
somebody called Ja Rule. Somebody tell me what Ja Rule thinks of this.
So, any other thoughts? I don't want to see another headline, but I feel that we would. I'm telling my parents, like, go out and go for walks, you know? But at the same time, damn, is it safe where they are? And I'm thinking, it should be safe where they are, but like, still.
Mask and sunglasses.
Yeah, mask. Yeah.
Mask
not-
and sunglasses. You'll never know.
Dude, yes, you would.
The clothes and the walk give it away.
The walk and the
Yeah.
size and the hair underneath those hats and masks.
Nice. Yeah.
Well, luckily, I haven't seen anything here. There's probably too many
There's
Asians
lots
here.
of Asians there, yeah.
Same with Markham. You're probably safe in Markham.
I'm not worried in here at Markham.
I'm worried for myself. Then again, I'm not because I can run, so that's okay.
Well, yeah, but you look like you could defend yourself too. That's why that's not gonna happen. Not, knock on wood. Hopefully it doesn't happen. But what I'm saying is, like, your calves are huge. Like,
Yeah, just wear shorts all the time. So
just wear
everyone can see
shorts
your
all the
calves.
time, and you're like,
No
yo,
famous calves.
don't mess with the calves, guy.
Yeah, that guy can run me down. I'm not touching him.
You sure you want to fight?
I can do this to you. Like your legs.
Anime.
You made joke, but fucking Israel Adesanya did that before his fight. He's only, one of the best fighters in the world. But
Yeah,
he
but-
legit did like the hand seals and Kuchiyose no Jutsu in the octagon. It's amazing.
Do you think it intimidates his opponent at all?
No, he does it because he's an anime nerd.
I know.
It's amazing.
You know what? It probably works the other way in that if he does it, it's like, oh, this guy's just an anime nerd. I got this. Like, it makes the other person overconfident.
Yeah, yeah.
Lets down his guard.
I think it worked early on, but now it's like, okay, this guy can knock me out. I have
Now
to
there's
actually
fear
hug
because
him.
of his
I have
actual,
to hug
like,
him and get him to the ground.
yeah, yeah.
No, it's still baffling to me that people actually hate other people. Like, how can you hate someone so much, and for not even knowing that person either? Like, to be able to have the gall to just do such hateful things to somebody and not even know that person, like, that's wild to me.
And based on something that is not relevant to that person, or that
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like you're just gonna generalize like that.
It's
or-
definitely not. It's dehuman. I don't think they look at them as human beings. It makes me wonder, how do these people view, like, raccoons or like vermin, like rats, or other pests of society or pests of the world? This is how they're viewing. These hate crimes. I think they look at these people as pests. So it's definitely dehumanizing, and just condescending, obviously. And you wonder though. Okay, well, what are other pests of the world? Would they do that to those pests? Would they kick something like a rat or a raccoon just because, like,
Man, some people just like to hurt animals for no reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
a lot of messed up like that.
Mm-hmm.
To me, I don't know. It's a minority of cases that we get that these terrible things happen. And to me, it has to come down to upbringing and most likely a lack of just education, lack of awareness, lack of love.
There just needs to be understanding, like, or empathy at least. Like,
So what needs to be done immediately? Obviously, these people grew up in a certain way where they weren't taught to be empathy. They weren't taught empathy. They weren't taught, consideration and just like being nice or just treating a
also
fellow
don't
human good.
know. We can't say like all these people actually come from this one town. No,
I know.
we don't know.
I'm
It's like,
asking, what do you
you
think
can't
should
do
be done immediately? Like,
nothing. Can't do anything.
yeah, you can't.
I disagree. I think at least from
I don't know. I don't know about the whole. Oh, it's gonna
Like
happen.
us as an individual, what can we do?
No, what should be done?
Like
What
from
should
a
be done?
government standpoint.
Any standpoint. I'm just asking.
Well,
I think
I answered my opinion.
Nothing.
So very naive way of thinking, but I think every person can make a difference in anything that they put their minds to or anything they put their hands to. I think that example of the person who showed kindness to the KKK, I feel like on a small scale, just like for our individual cases or anywhere where we are, if you, not to say if you do encounter somebody that is hateful or you know, might perceive to be racist, I think as long as you're doing your part in this world to just be kind to other people and to show them empathy, that kind of behavior should be or can be infectious in that, you know how we talk about how toxic energy tends to spread very easy in a workplace. No different with positive energy. If you can continue to be empathetic and show kindness to others, treat other people the way you want to be treated, I think that tends to resonate further or just as far as toxic thoughts and toxic vibes. I don't think there's nothing we can do. I think on a big scale it's hard to make a big difference, but with every small difference I think it still makes a difference. I think it's important to realize that we can't go about hating back, right? As stupid as it sounds, but you know, the whole, like, if we've all seen Naruto, we all talk, the whole thing is like revenge to revenge to revenge. Like, you can't keep living in that kind of mentality. You have to break the cycle and get to a point where you can show love, show empathy, and just be a good person. There's no point in like, it's good that we talk about this, but it's also, we should be careful to not spur on any more hate.
Like revenge hate, like retaliation, you mean?
Yeah, like we talk about how Asian hate, people hate the Asians, is all the white people fault. Like I can hear people somewhere down the way saying, I know, no one said that here, but I can feel that. Like I feel like there's gonna be a group of people that think it's the white people, but really it's not just one race. It's not one group of people. There's several individuals that hate. That also means there's also us as individuals that can love and, you know, more or less, not to say balance out, but hopefully show them that there's no reason to hate.
It tends to be anti-maskers.
Tends to be anti-maskers. How do you know that?
Well, you're saying it sprung from COVID, and
oh, I guess it was time.
Right. So if they're sick of this,
that's an assumption. You can't assume that.
Oh, yes, I can. I just made an open assumption. Okay, so yeah, I made a question of what can be done, and then you were like, what we as individuals, Warr, that's a great answer in terms of like continue to be the way we are, educate and empathetic in the sense of like what can we do different? I guess nothing, because we're going to continue to be good examples, maybe.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, Warren had an answer. It's still in line with my answer.
Yeah, nothing, right? So
because the minute you bring in something like, all right, I had this huge debate with my high school friends about like my one friend said they should make it illegal to use hate speech.
Well, that's stupid.
I had a big problem with that because you cannot own someone's speech.
Yeah,
by law, you can't. And we just went on for like hours. But so when you say like, what do you want to do? I was thinking about that. I'm like, well, you can't take away people's speech. Like in a system way, like a government way. You can't like. Well, offer me something to do then. How about that?
Okay.
I said don't do anything. Offer me something that could be done.
So an example I can think of an analogy wise is a lot of spam kind of phone calls and texts are happening lately for taxes, for income tax, where people are getting, you know, fake stuff, get calls from you'll see. People are getting calls from the CRA saying, oh, you know, your return's going to be this much, so you got to call in and change your SIN number. Yeah. And they're getting scammed. They're getting scammed into losing money into these people who are trying to take advantage, right? And the response from the government has been advertisements and just reminders on Spotify ads, on the radio, on wherever, of people like, hey, beware that this is happening. and use your common sense. Don't call these people numbers with your SIN number. So that was like an educational response to something they know is happening and people are getting taken advantage of. It's an active thing, and it will, I think it will make a difference. People will still fall for it, but it's an educated move. And
Yeah,
I
agree.
And if you, let's say, have an ad campaign of like, hey, just a reminder, there's a lot of hates going around based on the people, the way they look. You could be, I don't know, jailed for this much for assault, or assault is the penalty for assault is this, or aggravated assault was this, and murder, if that person dies, murder, you could be whatever, educative moment, something like that. It's like, hey, look, even if it's not going to change the way they think about this particular race, it's going to save lives maybe because of deterrent of like fear of, okay, I don't want to get caught and get sent to jail and maybe, punished for my crime, because it's a crime to
in that kind of thing, I probably would be against that. It's like,
because government spending.
It's a very negative thing, because let's say I read who attacked this person in NYC. That wouldn't stop that guy. One, because he's homeless, so he won't get the ads. Two, because he has a history of criminal activity.
Okay.
And it doesn't deter people who are like, I don't know, whatever.
What about the dude who spat on the girl on the bike path?
Well, yeah,
or the guy in the bus who spat on the person on the bus. Like, what about those people or acting like this? Like,
so here's what I would say. So what I would like, what I think might be able to help is maybe from the top government, the way they talk, the way they say things. And yeah, the ads focusing on like more education, empathy, that kind of thing. Schools, teaching that kind of thing in schools in a more positive way. That's what I think. Not like you could be jailed for this and that. Yeah, maybe there's a place for that, but there's a certain group of people that wouldn't.
Well, you can't really have an ad campaign for be more defining empathy and then be like everyone.
Well, okay, here's what I'll say.
say.
Here's what I'll say. When I worked at Mac, one of the things they like to do in their ad campaigns, or what they actively tried to push for, is getting rid of the whitewash. So in their ad campaigns, they won't have white people anymore. They'll have a variety of different colors. So that's a very subliminal message kind of thing. So on that kind of subliminal message that kind of way of advertising, I'd be down for that, because you could be like an Asian kid, and like even when I was younger, I was like, like I wouldn't have thought I'd get into rock climbing. In my head is like, or whatever other sport, you'd think like, oh, it's like what white people think.
Snowboarding.
Because that's what snowboarding, because that's what you see in the ads, like those kinds of people do those kinds of activities. But when you change small things like that are like subliminal, it exposes people to those, exposes people to different people, or
I get what you're saying. Yeah.
And two, it gives them hope to be whatever. It's a more positive way to do it, as opposed to being like trying to do an ad campaign
like preventative
in a negative sense. Yeah.
Well,
like for instance, like someone like a prime minister who's running for prime minister, I'd rather hear the points that they want to do with the country as opposed to talking shit about the opponent.
Right.
Yeah.
I think the only reason those ads work in terms of like a precautionary measure is because that is something that affects the whole population. Like it's not geared towards a specific subset of people. Like everyone who's in Canada and pays taxes like has SIN and can be directly affected by this. So I think that kind of goes to Mike's message is even if there are ads that talk about treating others of a specific, or who receive some sort of discrimination, those people who don't kind of go through that might not really care, so to speak.
The ad that I said wasn't like, hey, mentioning Asian people and like treat them nicely.
No, I know, but
it was
but
like,
that's what I mean. I
it
mean,
was,
like
it was,
it's more of something that affects the population as a whole. Like that's something that you can reach out to everyone, because in that ad, everyone is the same.
I was gonna add something.
So, but how is it? How is everyone not the same when you're telling people to watch out? Yeah.
While Dan's gone, I'll say my little piece because it's similar. I was gonna say it's the target audience.
Yeah.
So like the precautionary one, you're targeting potential victims, which, as Dan said, is everybody. Your audience is like potential criminals. It's a completely different audience you're trying to get. And that's why I would agree with Mike and Dan. Like, the message won't get through to the potential criminals.
Okay.
So I'm leaning towards.
Okay, criminals, right? Because obviously, yeah, the even the message for the tax fraud or whatever, like to take advantage of people, it's not really to try and deter those scammers not to do their scam. It's for the victims, right? To be aware,
like,
for victims to be aware.
Careful. It's like basically saying, hey, just a reminder, if you're old and Asian, be really careful around anybody young that could kick you in the face. Like that's.
But that's not the message, right? It was.
No.
That's not the message I was trying to use in the ad, and I'm not equating also like the level of effectiveness. But I get what you guys are saying, that the ad that I just described is not universal because it's meant to just protect a certain thing, right? But I've just not seen anything of like that done immediately when something is springing. Like, this is relatively new in news, but it needs to be addressed. And you're saying there's just nothing you could do to address it. Okay, yeah, maybe use more diversity of culture in ads. Let's see that. But you're gonna target. Let's say when I see, let's say more people of diversity on TV shows, or you see more people in commercials for banks, or you see them in whatever they're advertising. The racist people are gonna look at that and be like, now they're in our freaking commercials, man. Like, I have to see them now on TV when I don't even. That's the response you're gonna get from racist people too, right? Would you say? Like, generally, it's not gonna be welcomed. Oh, they're part of our normal now. They're in our culture. It's not that melting pot thing. It's like they're just gonna look at it the same way and be like, now they're infiltrating our TVs and they're infiltrating our shows and they're infiltrating our ads and our mountains and our mountain climbing gym clubs and our snowboarding things. And you know what I mean? Like, I looked at it more in the sense of like smoking again too. You know, they forced people, like they forced you to put like a smoke lung on boxes or on cartons of cigarettes as a deterrent to buy it. You know, I'm not equating them, but I'm saying these are responses. I just don't think you can just wait around. I think
as a short-term thing, I think that
something needs to be like.
I see what you're going at short-term. I think my pitch with those, like, you know, top-down, like, I don't know, ads or whatever, and exposure and stuff, that is more targeted to like people who aren't at that level yet. You know what I mean? Like, before they get to that level of racism, that would help. Or even if they're at that racism, maybe it helps them thinking. It's just because it's subliminally altering their view of things based on those ads. Yeah.
I think shows and ads and media has been very multicultural already.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that racism is so deep set with people, with these real racists, that
it won't make a difference
finding out who they are.
Yeah.
And if they want to commit the crime, in an ideal world, we just get rid of them now, right? Like, if
don't give them a chance,
thinking,
right?
I want to kick that old Chinese lady in the face, but I can't because I'll go to jail for 5 years or whatever. Man, from my honest opinion, the world could do without that person.
Yeah.
But we don't know who these people are.
I mean, yeah. So like, but I guess that's what I was wondering. Like, we don't know who they are, but we want them to know that they shouldn't be able to think that they can get away with shit like this. At least that's what I would want them to know.
I would hope that they shouldn't. I would hope that that guy who kicked the girl in front of the hotel goes to jail. But what happened? I don't know.
Yeah, any news there, Mike? You said they arrested
If
him,
that guy
yeah?
goes to jail for the rest of his life, then probably all the people who are thinking about doing that will probably not do that.
Yeah,
That would
but
be
it's
great
like,
as a
it's
headline.
like everyone should know that if they assault a person and kick a person on the road, regardless of race,
Right.
it
Right.
should have been known.
They should know, right? But all of a sudden, COVID pandemic, they're like, I do think the Kung Flu thing and China virus, huge impact to why people are viewing
Huge.
it like this, right? So how do you cancel that? How do you can't
Huge.
cancel what he just said? Huge. But like, how do you? It should be said though. Like something to say that just because it could have been manufactured or started or created in China, very much so. Hey, your neighbor who's Chinese, who doesn't speak English, who's old, exercising in the park, has nothing to do with that. If anything, it's like you're endangering yourself coming into that close, and now you're like punching them in the face, and then their germs are gonna spread all over your face. I don't know.
They
Yeah.
don't think that. It's
I know they
simple-
don't,
They're thinking
but-
very simple.
But
Simple-minded.
something. But I mean, why target now? Like, it's frustration that's getting them to outburst in this behavior. I don't want to see it happen again. None of us want to see it happen again. But just waiting around and saying nothing can be done and doing an activity like we're talking about it on a podcast. I think that's something, at least, you know. If no one's watching, no one's watching. But there's something there. Like, it's another thing to. It's different.
To
It's
reiterate.
different. We don't talk about this shit because we don't really live it and don't have to talk about it. But hey, we're talking about it. That's something. I think it's different.
I think that just kind of brings us back to like Warren's point earlier, and what I would have just agreed with is just it's more of because I feel that this is such a product of environment. The only thing you can really do is just do your best to influence your environment. Like,
Okay.
out of all the media things, we're never gonna see. Oh, like, did you hear the story about, how that one guy felt so like poorly towards, some subset of people, but then all of a sudden everything is good now because he had such a good, wholesome interaction. I'm sure there's tons of that are happening now,
Good.
but it's
yeah.
just, no news is gonna really feed off of that. They're gonna feed off all the negative shit that's happening. So
Correct.
really the only thing that we can do is just just be a generally
examples,
good
yeah.
person. All the kids that like the future generation, I think that's something active that we can do. Like, be very involved as a role model and think about the kids that are being raised and all the stuff that they have to go through, and just try and just show how to just be a good, genuine person. And hopefully that whole pay it forward mentality will just spread, so that, when we run into times like this, it's not going to affect, the general population to go in such a negative spin. That's
Preach.
that's how I feel.
Okay.
I'm
last.
not gonna say that there's no hope for our generation right now. I think I think Kyle and Dan kind of mentioned the whole like the environment you're grown up in. Like, some of these older generations, there's no really changing their mindset. It's difficult. There isn't one
They're like
solution, but there are
unsavable
ways.
almost. Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot more difficult to change their mentality, to change how they were raised. There are ways to mitigate how much of hate there is in the world. To outright say nothing, I don't like to call it nothing. I like to think of it as small things, right? Even if it's small things, at least we're putting in our part to potentially mitigate another hate crime elsewhere. And like Mike and Dan, they beat me to it. The whole kids are king. Like, if we can teach the next generation to not be like our older generation that tended to be a little more hateful, then all the better. I think even on social media, if we can show love, even if it's on Twitter, show love. If it's just, I guess, like in the public, just waving to people with masks on is kind of creepy. So we try not to do that. But, in any situation, you can show a helping hand or some sort of share positive vibes. You're in good shape. It's not nothing.
I agree. My
So
answer was more of the government thing.
right.
Yeah, like it's not going to be like a global
gonna do
movement
with my
type
answer.
thing, but it is
I
something
feel like it
that
should be.
we can do. Yeah,
Last thing.
we're all agreeing just on a different way of saying.
Yeah. If you were to witness it, how would you react?
I would act physically. I would try to restrain the guy and then get someone to call the cops. Make sure it's being filmed. And I might get my ass beat in the process, but I'm gonna try. Even with a big guy, if I get his back, I could probably choke him out before he knocks me out.
Active, right? Preventative and active.
If I saw an assault, yeah. Like,
But
there's
not a
no
teachable
doubt.
moment though, right? It's not like
to go up and talk to him. Hey, talk to me for a second. Why did you do that? No.
no, more like,
Yeah,
hey, what the
yeah.
fuck?
Talk with him in the
Oh, I
police.
mean, he already did the action. I mean, if he's done the
Yeah.
action already, he's not.
Yeah,
can't
it's
be
over.
reasoned with.
Exactly. But these are the individuals creating it, and this level of message of setting the example, making a difference, hopefully for future gen not to act and but now you have the perpetrator right there within your realm, within your grasp, your reach to,
Well, I preach not to be a bystander.
for sure.
So
Yeah.
I would preach to act
Yeah.
and not to go kick the guy's ass and kill him.
Right.
At least help.
Stop him from moving,
Yeah,
right?
Like you heard that
You have to.
that woman who fought back, right?
You have to. Sorry?
Did you hear about that woman who fought back with a piece of wood?
No,
Yup,
but if
yup.
you go, then great.
Young guy attacked her. She was like older, but she fought back and she picked up a piece of wood and bashed him in the face a bit too many times, and he had to go to the hospital and get reconstructive or whatever like that. So if he dies, she could be charged for murder or something like that.
Oh, fuck that.
Well, that's
If that was
defense.
on
I don't know.
film-
But yeah,
Well,
how
they have,
about
like,
that
defense.
level, right? That level, yeah, it's gonna come to
They have
that.
self-defense. I'm pretty sure she's covered for that.
She
Even if
would be okay for sure,
Yeah.
especially if it was on film.
Well, he was already on the ground and he wasn't gonna fight back at that point, but she continued. Obviously, it's like
yeah.
adrenaline, right? Wailing and stuff.
Exactly.
Like
That's adrenaline. You can just kill somebody.
complete
If you
temper.
get attacked first and end up killing somebody, that's not your fault.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, don't be a bystander. Like, stand up for people, even if they're not your race. If you see an assault,
Yeah.
take a bit of assessment. Do they have a gun? Am I gonna get shot in the head? Get someone to call 911 and take action. That's why you train. That's why you train mentally and hopefully you train a bit physically to handle these scary situations.
Don't stand by, stand up.
That's right.
I like it. Definitely calculate the situation. I think every situation can be different. Like, if it's 5 people against 1 and then you're a bystander in that situation, obviously I would intervene and try to at least use my voice to stop any kind of physical activity, maybe stop them in their tracks while you kind of buy time to get more people around you or buy time for authorities to come through. Definitely wouldn't just run in though. Like, even if
Yeah.
it's one-on-one, like if it's a bigger person versus myself, I wouldn't be the type to just run in.
Yeah.
If possible, I'd try the whole talking route first while 911's on the way, but
Well, that's the danger,
definitely
too, because
wouldn't walk away.
Yeah.
Not
Vocal
walk
at the
away.
very least, maybe a yell just to get attention, to deter. But yeah, it's true because of how we look too. We could very well just take that target and be the target.
Sir, what would you do if I drop kick you in the face? you wouldn't like me very much, would you?
No, if I saw some dude running, charging someone, jump kicking them, would I run and charge and jump kick that person? I don't know. Depends what mindset I'd be.
Sir,
Yeah.
you shouldn't do that, sir. That's not very nice. What if I drop kick you in the face?
I think if I saw him continuing to run, I probably would focus attention on the person.
Save, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Make
Save.
sure they're okay. Try and get some sort of good outcome out of it, whatever I can do. But
I
if
would
the person was still there, then yeah, I'd probably
Definitely
do
911
something,
first.
say something. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
would shout and hopefully get at least one person to help the person on the ground. And I would
Yeah.
boot it,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I would catch that motherfucker.
Priority is safety first.
Anything to create some sort of level of hesitation on the guy or whoever it is
Mhm.
is gonna do a lot.
Hold up,
would
I have stun up in
probably-
5 seconds. Stun up in 5 seconds.
What's that? What? What?
It's on CD, man.
Snare, cast snare.
I don't get it. Should I get it?
I'm not-
Just any kind of stupid call in a MOBA or any like.
Oh.
Oh.
Nice.
Set up in 5 seconds.
Oh my ult in 20. My ult in 20.
I just got restock and stun grenade. I was like, oh, okay, I get that. All right, gotcha. Okay.
I have ult in 20.
Alton.
He's one. He's one.
He's one. He's one. Oh man.
That's funny because in real life that means he's like almost
He's
dead.
almost
Yeah.
dead. He's knocked. He's knocked.
He's one. Chase.
No, it's more like, yo, live ping.
He has no wraith.
Anyone have heals? Who's got heals? I need heals. Medkit.
Res, need res. Oh, that's bad.
Oh no. Oh no.
It's like, where's Mercy?
For real though, like I often play out scenarios like that in my head. So like, if I have to act, I have to
Yeah.
be cool and calm in the moment. I'm always thinking of like fucked up shit that could happen, and then how I'll do it, how I'll deal with it, how will I deal with a plane that's gonna crash. Like how will I,
When I do think of scenarios like that, I get riled up, adrenaline a little bit, and all it takes is for somebody to say, yeah, but what if they had a gun? And then I'm like, right. And all of a sudden it's like,
I mean, if they drop kicked the guy, they wouldn't have. If the action was more like
Right.
assault, they were less likely to have a gun.
yeah. And like even that guy in Alberta who spat, do you think he would have done that if they were going on the same direction?
My guess is no.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
It's because he could get away.
He had a quick getaway on a bike and they were on skateboards, so it was like,
I mean,
He just had a bad day.
yes, he probably sped
he
up
had a bad day.
right after he did it.
Yeah.
It's like those assholes that are driving and they hit you with a bad drive or something and then they speed off,
Yeah. Yeah.
or they give you the finger and then speed up, something like that. They
Yeah.
just want to get out. They don't want to get caught.
Or they'll brake check and then they'll bolt. So
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's like a common thing. It's like the bullies are really weak. They always will be, right? Like they are the weaker people.
All right. Well, I definitely don't want to see any more headlines. But seeing as how it's like, it's news coverage now, we're probably going to see more of them because everyone believes it's probably right too that it just happens. It always happens, and now we're just going to get more coverage. So, how do you, yeah. Hopefully
Where's the
people
love
don't
for
like,
People, shit.
sorry?
I was just throwing it out there.
Where's the what?
Love for Aboriginal people.
Right.
They
Yeah.
got fucked over and they'll never make it to the news.
Right.
All the rapes, all the murders, all the kidnappings, those don't make it to the news. Just saying.
Yeah. Well, what do you want that to be done there? How do you create, well, that can go another way, but like, they even as positive and as good individuals and humans as we can be and try to lead example for future generations and children, the children we want to reach. It was a response that I had earlier to what you guys were saying about kids, but it's like, social media, whatever like that, but it's whoever's raising them in their home. It's like, You got to touch them. You got to touch the parents if you want those teachables to go to the kids, unless they are homeless kids and then they rely on like outside values to be adopted or whatever like that. But you know, you can't. I don't necessarily think just being examples for future generations as us as third parties is gonna make that kind of impact. You gotta hit the parents. You gotta hit their guardians. You like, or their teachers, or their neighborhoods, or their circles and stuff. You know, like.
Sounds to me that you would be a fan of communism.
I have been vocal about that. I've said that.
Because it would be a solution.
People think I'm, you know, people have had their response to that, but I think the ideal of communism makes sense to me. Makes sense to me more than capitalism. Mark has voiced the other side of that to me. Like, we've had that debate, but yeah, I like the idea. But socialist.
Idealist communism.
Yes. No, absent of corruption at the top end, obviously.
Yep. Well, there you go. There's your answer. If that can ever happen.
Yeah.
But I'm with you, honestly. Like, if everyone is equal and everyone is literally raised the same, you would see it. But that's not gonna happen.
Ideally. All right.
Made it through without saying anything racist.
I was gonna say, like, what was Warren warning about earlier?
Oh God.
You came close.
Oh, don't worry about it.
I remember there was like
man.
and then you like changed your words.
What I want to see is an. I want to see an ad with like a politician just standing next to like an Asian person, be like, "It was not their fault."
Oh God.
Oh, to try and cancel the statement. I do think something. See, because honest. Oh man. Like I am.
For this? Wait. Before you get mad, listen. This is Warren Aguinaldo. He's an engineer at your city. This is Michael Coronel. He's a dentist. It was not their fault.
I just.
Be right back. Maybe not.
I think what I'm annoyed with is it was Trump, right? And so all the educated anti-Trumpers were like dismissed it, like, fuck man, Trump's an idiot, but it's Trump. Like, it was almost like it was easy to dismiss because it was Trump. And if it was anyone, like, I don't know, who was smarter or like more of an intellectual, or even if could a Democrat have said that or something like that. But the fact that Trump had that kind of influence among all his followers, all the people who charge Capitol Hill, all those types of people, all these anti-maskers and these, you kind of need to reach them still. Maybe not in the sense of, hey, don't hurt people that look like this, but it's like they've now adopted what he said to the level of degree of like, you can blame these people for what's happening to you now. I do think something should be done to address that. Specifically that. Like, maybe, I don't know, show the same speech again, and right after, and as he's paraphrase, or like some guy who like, something really graphic and like alerting to say what Trump said here is incorrect, or something to get the source, because I think that's the source. That statement, I can't think of anything else that could have led to what's going on now but that statement, like, as of the source. What do you think? Yeah,
I don't think so.
You don't think that's the source?
I think
That's
if they
not the
supported
source.
Trump that much, they wouldn't take that message that way.
If they supported Trump that much,
if they supported and believed in Trump to go that far, then seeing a message with Trump and then an X on it would just seem like a political thing.
Oh
It's
yeah,
like,
yeah, I get it. No, that was the idea to address it. My question was, do you think that's the source? Do you think that is why this is happening? That's what I'm trying to figure out the origin of why all of this shit. Now, you guys are saying, yeah, the pandemic contributed to why people are looking for someone to blame.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm saying, I think that particular thing was the source. I mean, you can disagree
I don't think
or whatever.
I wouldn't say that's the source. It's just like but it does contribute it in a way. Like what I think is people think a certain way. They hear that statement and they take that statement a certain way. Like people like us, we obviously know that when he means it's a China virus, it comes from China. But you have the other people who take that as, oh, this virus comes from China, so Chinese people should be blamed. Even the ones here in the US, all Chinese people should be blamed. It's just overgeneralization.
Correct. Yeah. So how do you address that?
You don't say that shit in the first place.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
that's why, like, you know, that's why people got so angry about it, because it's true. I mean, on one side, it's true. He's right. It is a virus from China. But on the other side,
exactly,
it's still a dangerous message.
It was like factual, not the way he said it, but like it's true. But there was no education beyond that. So it's like, and you don't think further. I don't know. I just don't think the whole it happened, can't change it now. Hopefully it dies off or something. It becomes a fad that kind of dies off, like the knockout. I don't think that's gonna happen. That would be nice if it just stops, let's say. But if that statement did promote and like, yeah, add to more reasoning as to why the behavior like this is amplified now, it should be addressed. That's just what I'm just sharing my thoughts here. We don't have to agree on that or whatever. I don't like the whole nothing. Just continue being a good. Yeah, you're right. I agree with everything everyone said. Like, I agree with it. I don't like it though. I don't like how there's no direct response. I'd rather a direct response, because that shows something, not just waiting for it to be over. I want to see
there is
a direct response.
People are bringing it up. There is awareness, so that
yeah,
is a
I like
form of
that.
response.
I like
So
that.
that's good in a way, but like that's why I said in the long term, like why does Trump think that way? Why does Trump say these words this certain way? You want to educate these people before they get to that point. So in the long term, that's why I think getting the message done properly, I don't know, whether you're a kid or through you know, whatever, the way a government says things, the way people say things on an individual level, us being nice to each other in general, in the long term, that's what I think will help. But in the short term, like, yeah, maybe something like, but in the short term, that's why these things help. Like, people get into an uproar. The awareness is there. So once you get the awareness, maybe something will change. Hopefully people will start thinking more. So.
Okay, this forgive me, guys, but what you just said, Mike, kind of an uproar, right? So riots. It made me think of riots. So then, like last year, we went through that with, again, BLM. The riots was an uproar of, hey, government, do something. They wanted to see change, active change, right? I mean, we don't want riots. I was anti-riots for sure, and I was even anti-protest. This whole peaceful protest thing, I don't believe in protests. I think it does more harm than good. But that was an active response, and I don't know. I don't want to see. I don't know. Thoughts on that? Like you said, uproar.
Man, I'm all for protest, man. How are you gonna get to the government or get to anyone in general? It's a way to voice an opinion, to reach out to other people.
Okay, you're for the protests, but what I said was like, what can we do as an active response? And it was nothing. the government can't do anything. But then if you're for protests, the protests are for government action. So what would the government do? You know what I mean? Like, it's, how are you for protests to react to this? Sorry?
So Mike didn't say don't do anything, or the government. I think I did.
Yeah, things
No.
are happening already, you know what
But
I mean? Like,
immediate response, I mean, by the government. But a protest is for immediate response by the government. But so far,
I
we
don't
have
like
no ideas as what the government could do.
You could
yeah,
have.
there's too much reliance on the government to do something about it, to make a law, to make it, you know, things illegal or whatever. So that's why I think, you know, things in social media, I think it helps a lot. Us being really nice, it helps a lot. Changing the way you do ads, changing the way, you know, people think. As a government, you can't rely 100% on government. I don't know.
I think
That's
at
the way I
the
think. I
bare
think
minimum,
my solution
acknowledgement
is
that it's
good.
happening.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's why, you know, social media, there's acknowledgement that it's happening and it's getting the word across.
My
So
problem
hopefully-
is with this select few people that are racist, right? So why are they racist, for one? And how do you really prevent them from raising another generation of racists?
Yeah.
And it comes back to the kids.
Yeah.
Okay, you gotta keep these kids open-minded. But where these children of racists grow up, it's very hard to do.
hmm
And so chances are that children of a racist community will be racist. And a change that would have to be made is like, man, you gotta completely change that community or this area or wherever they come from. And that's a huge can of worms. Because really all you want is for all kids to grow up being loved and to know that they should just love everybody.
Yeah.
And that's, but you won't see that, like, because the parents are racist, these racists that we're talking about. Again,
Yeah.
a minority of people. I'm not talking about a race, just these racist people.
These specifics. Yeah.
Yeah, so how do you control how their kids are being raised?
hmm
Very hard. And if they're so racist, their kids are gonna be racist. Like, shit, unless right. So that's kind of why, to me, it's a very, very difficult problem. And say, what are you gonna do? Stop it. What are you gonna do? What's your action? One, who are these people? Where are they? I don't know. Where do they live? What community were they raised in? I don't know. I there's a lot of questions before I can even approach an answer to that. So it's like, and that's not even to change them. It's like, okay, we have to make sure that their kids, the next generation of racists, are not racist. And that's a very hard problem to solve.
So, guys, thanks for participating, because I think, yeah, when the idea came up to talk about it, I think I was even personally maybe hesitant to take an active kind of stance. Even the very first time I saw that post shared on Instagram by my cousin, by Daniel Day Kim, I thought twice for some reason about reposting it in my story. And I felt bad for thinking twice about reposting it in my story. So I'm glad we did this today, you know, and yeah. So thanks for coming out and talking about it. I think I had a certain reaction to when I brought up the idea, and maybe there was some there was hesitation also to talk about it too, and maybe even participating and talking about it. And I don't know how I felt about that too, but I'm just glad it happened. So I do think that this is a social media platform, it's a public platform, and I'm glad you know, we had this participation for it, even just talking about it, because it's something. It's not nothing. So in my mind, anyway, the way I see it, I like the fact that we took part in it. So thanks. Anything else one people say?
GG.
I'm always open to talk, and some conversations I won't have much experience in things, but yeah, I'm always open to talk about whatever.
Just like talking to you guys.
Dan's video froze. Oh, there it goes.
Yeah.
All
I
right.
just really like talking to you.
So thanks, guys. We'll wrap that up for this week. We'll be on again next Thursday, 10:30 p.m. Eastern. Thanks, guys.
Same Brack time.
Spread
Thank
love,
you.
not germs. Love you.
Stand up. I forget what you said. Stand something.
Don't stand by, stand up.
Don't stand by. Stand up. Thanks for watching, guys. Good night.